it needs more people showing those who don't think about it because they don't have to, they have that privilege, that these things need to change. And then it needs that actual change. It needs to not just be talking about it. It needs not to be lip service. Wrapping your stick on Pride Night is great, but it needs to go beyond that. It needs to be a true change, an actual commitment to it. Name is Michaela Grey. That's not my real name, but you can call me Michaela. I am an author. I write gay hockey romances. I've got a book that is currently in the Vivian Awards as a finalist this year. So that's pretty exciting. I think I sent you a link to it. And I have a day job as well with a mental health company, but my passion, the heart of who I am is writing romances in the genre that I love.
That's very cool. And you're also a hockey fan?
Very much so.
How did you get into hockey?
That's kind of a back in 2017 or so. I'm a new fan, really. I was never really interested in sports, but I ran out of books to read because I'm an avid reader. And I asked Twitter for some recommendations, and they recommended Avon Gale and Piper Vaughn, who are gay hockey romance writers. And I was like, I don't like hockey. Why would I read this? But I had nothing else to read, and I was desperate, so I gave it a chance. And I burned through all 6 books in like 3 days, and I was hooked. And I started reading more. I read all that they had. I started looking for others. And I started getting into the sport, and at the same time, this was when the Knights were making that inaugural run for the Cup, and they were going up against the Caps. And I didn't know how to really watch hockey then, but I kind of followed it, and I was really kind of getting into it. And then it hit summer, and they lost. But by then I had found out about Marc-Andre Fleury's existence, and I was done for at that point. It just kind of snowballed. Kind of sucked me in, and I spent the summer learning about the sport and figuring out how it worked, and just kind of really falling headfirst down this rabbit hole, this wormhole of the interconnections and the way the teams work together, and just the amazing humanity of it, and just the incredible connections that they have. And by the time the next season came around, I was done for, and that's kind of how it started.
That's really fascinating and such a unique way to get into the sport. Super cool. It also leads me into my next question, which is, what do you love about the sport?
Oh my God. I mean, there's so much that I love about it. It's such a fascinating sport. But honestly, the human interactions, the connections, the way the teammates play together, the way that they connect to each other, the way that they rely on each other, and there's just such a deep emotional bond there within a team. That's really what got me. That's what gets me every time. It's what I love the most, is just seeing how they do everything together as a group, individuals, but also just working together. And that's probably my favorite thing, is just watching that, I guess.
That's pretty cool. And it's a unique way to think about it, right? Because everyone talks about the different skills and stuff that people gain, or the, community it builds, but the actual emotional connections that are created from it are pretty cool, and they exist. They really do. And it's something, especially you go somewhere and you do well, it's wild how, those bonds that you make with those teammates just last forever.
Yeah, even when you get traded and whatnot, those friendships, those bonds, they never really go away. So it's really neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. So how could hockey be better for you?
For me, just for me.
Well, for you as an individual, for the community, for...
I mean, there's a lot there. For me personally, I love it. There's straight white men on Twitter would be a little quieter. That would be a great start for me. A lot of toxicity around, the fandom, the not fandom, but like, a lot of the fans in general. There's a whole lot of toxic feedback and opinions and things that it's like they forget that the players are human and that they can read these things and it hurts them. And I really hate to see people being hurt like that. I would love to see more positivity, which is kind of corny, but what can I do? I want to see more support, and more inclusion and more diversity. The whole, the whole hockey thing is so insular, and I know that it is a vastly straight white sport, so there's a whole lot to be done. But there just needs to be more diversity, more acceptance, and just in general, just more inclusion, I guess.
Do you have any thoughts as to how we could get there?
Well, I mean, I think that the things that you're doing, the things that Curtis Gabriel is doing, I mean, in my own small way, I'm trying to do it too.
Yeah.
Bringing awareness to the issues, bringing shining a light on them, using the platform to show when things are needing that change, and also showing a way to make the change. It needs more people talking about it. It needs more people showing those who don't think about it because they don't have to, they have that privilege, that these things need to change. And then it needs that actual change. It needs to not just be talking about it. It needs not to be lip service, wrapping your stick on Pride Night is great, but it needs to go beyond that. It needs to be a true change, an actual commitment to it,
So with all that being said, what keeps you in hockey?
A lot of it is the friends I've made, the fans like me. A lot of times I have friends on, in completely different team fandoms and whatnot. And the beauty of the sport, like it is just such endlessly fascinating, the way they move so quickly, and the technical art of it, just the skill needed there. It's a constantly evolving and growing and changing thing, where it's not like with like a movie or a book, you read it and you're done. With hockey, it's very much, all the moving parts are changing all the time, and you always get something new, different content, and every game is different. And it's never boring. It's just always, there's always something more to learn and something more to fixate on and get interested in. And that's what keeps me there, is I just really love watching the game. I love watching the players, and I love the sport itself.
That's awesome. I like that. What gives you hope for queer people within the sport?
People like you, people like Curtis. Wish there were more of you. I know that it's ridiculously slow going, but I feel like there is a group of people that is growing, and they all want change. And I feel like the ship is turning. It's very, very slow because it's a very large ship, but I feel like there is, it's changing course. It's just something that we have to keep working on, and we can't give up on fighting for that progress. And so that's what gives me hope for it, really, is that I feel like there are people that are fighting for it. There are people using their platform, and that gives me a lot of hope. So
and I think there's more of us than we even realize doing this.
I would agree.
People that I've never engaged with or knew existed are coming up from all over the place and engaging, and that's
awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting, right? Because there are so many of us, and I think there's power in numbers too, which, there will be more of us if we can all align and in some capacity to start moving the needle a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. And I think a lot of us are kind of afraid to say too much. So, the whole comfort in numbers thing, it helps to know that there are more of us, and being able to band together and not just be a lone target, but I do definitely agree there are a lot more queer fans of hockey in general than most people even realize, to be honest.
Yeah, and I can't wait until we can. And it's almost like forming that, it's like cheering for a team almost. Like if we all cheer for each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can
Yes,
bond
very
and
much so.
create that sort of world for each other in that safe space where we can actually be there and root each other on and create community. So I think, hopefully something like this will help with that.
Absolutely. I think so too. I think it's a great idea, and I'm thrilled you've had so much response to it, and you've got so many people reaching out and wanting to do it with you. So that's really great.
Yeah, no, it's been very exciting. Michaela, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Um, I Not really. I mean, I think it's a great thing that you guys are doing. I love that you're so open about your own experiences, and I'm behind you 100%. I appreciate all that you do for the queer community in general. So thank you for giving me a little bit of time to talk about it. And it was great to meet you too. So it's
Yeah, it's
just,
great to meet you.
yeah. So that's pretty much it. So if you ever want to read my books, let me know. I'll send you a copy.
Yeah, we'll have to plug them here so we can get
Okay.
people reading them.
Well, I have a couple of them here. I don't have a copy of Roughing on me, but so here's this Butterfly. That's the most recent one that I did. And it's kind of a sequel to Roughing. This is the first one that I did, Blindside Hit. And that one is, that's kind of the one that got me into, I fell down the rabbit hole. It took me like a month to write that one. So I was definitely obsessed and inspired by that time. And then there's, this is probably my favorite, Double Shifting. It's kind of a amnesia, fake married type trope, and it was a lot of fun to write. So those are just a few of them, but I have a bunch on Amazon that I'm working on, and I'm working on a couple more right now. So hoping to have another one out in another couple of months. So
very cool. And yeah, so everyone who watches this, hopefully they'll pick them up and read them. And it's really interesting and a unique perspective on the sport.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of feel like it's really important for people to see men portrayed in a way that is not that toxic masculinity, that a lot of men in sports are trapped in. And I like to be able to present some kind of perspective on that men are allowed to be soft too. They're allowed to have emotions. They're allowed to feel things. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why I do it.